But the main one that stuck on me was whiskey.
And welcome to another episode of the Bourbon and Ballistics Podcast, the show where we talk a little about whiskey, a little about firearms, and a whole lot of everything in between. I'm your host, Joel Potter, and invite you to sit back, relax, pour yourself your favorite glass while we talk some bourbon and ballistics. Today's show, very excited. I got my buddy Troy Fontana sitting across from me. Thank you for coming, making the drive down.
Absolutely.
Super excited to have you on the show. We got a ton of stuff to cover.
Yeah.
I know you get to do a lot of these, so it's obviously not your first time. Troy is a award-winning published author. Here's his latest and greatest book, Scars, Secrets to Master Your Mind and Turn Your Pain, Trauma, and Loss into a Superpower.
Yes, sir.
Troy, how we doing?
I'm fantastic, brother. I'm stoked to be here with you. It's an honor and a privilege, and I'm just really proud of what you're doing and proud to be a part of it. So thank you, brother.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
thank you. Now we have we got an interesting bottle. I was just telling Troy, we definitely try to pair this up with the guest. Troy is no stranger to having to get up off the mat. You've done a lot of things with your life. I mean, I've known you since Pee Wee football, Mighty Mite football, I think, so we've been, at least friends for a long time. I haven't seen you since middle school, I think. Yeah. But anyways, it was, we ran into Spirit, the
Halloween store.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it was super
Did you guys
cool.
end up getting any costumes anyway?
No, just kind of mapping out an idea and, playing with those little, we call them electronic little toys in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Very cool. All right, so we got the Resilient, and this bottle is an interesting pour. It's a bottle and bond, and I'm not sure, what your level of. I know you don't drink a lot, and it's bad for the guts, we try to, on the show, we'll try to keep down to a minimum, but at least let you, try this one on and see what you think.
Sure.
As a non-drinker, I always make the bold assumption that everyone drinks it neat.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's sometimes it backfires, but is that going to be all right with you?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so what I did want to get into with the Resilient bottle and bond. If you're not aware, the spirit must come from a single distillery. All right, so you're not going to be not contaminating, but intermixing it with different blends. Okay, it has to be bottled for 4 years.
Wow.
At a certain time of year, and so the process to actually get the bottle and bond stamp is kind of difficult, and so a lot of people when they're mass producing aren't able to do that to make the quantity. So let's get this poured up. I'll get you some, then we'll get into it.
What's the 4 years? Is that kind of like the sweet spot to get it?
It is. I think that with whiskeys, it's bourbons, unlike scotches. I mean, they hit a certain point where they're going to be pretty much as good as they're going to get.
Okay.
And you can get some good 10, 12 years, and then you're getting into cask strengths and things of that nature. But this is probably, like I said, it's a 4 year. It's a 50 proof, 50% 100 proof.
Oh, damn.
So it should have a little bit of bite to it. It's got a little bit higher rye content, so it's gonna be a little peppery.
Okay.
But you're gonna still probably get those vanilla flavors on the back end of that. So we'll see what first. I just like to give it a little.
Yeah, is there a way to?
So off the glass, we'll just give a little sniff. It's going to be kind of tough because I'm not even good at nosing. So, anyways, but I mean, it definitely does smell sweet, which is interesting. Let's look at the mash bill: 60% corn, 36% rye, and a 4% barley.
Oh, what a trip! What'd you call it? The what? The mash?
The mash bill.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we're looking at is the grains.
Okay.
What grains are using to make the recipe. Well, hey.
Cheers,
thank you.
brother. Yeah, cheers. Thank you, man. Let's go.
Ooh. What do you think?
I mean, I got a flashback to college.
So you don't drink a lot of whiskey, which is fantastic. I mean, it more power, honestly, more power to you. And I think that, you got a, athlete mindset, and that definitely plays into that for sure.
Yeah. I don't have anything against it at all or anything like that. I enjoy a drink here and there, so it's nice to kind of share. But yeah, I'm not a connoisseur by any means.
Sure.
Sure. I think the last whiskey I had was probably something cheap at literally college party or something like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, let's first of all, I want to start with this because this is probably one of the the biggest, most recent things. I know you're very busy, but let's just start with the book.
Yeah.
Because I got to the chance. I was just telling you that I got the chance to read. I got through the first chapter and a half, I think. And the book itself, it starts off, it's raw, it's scary, and it's personal, right? It's a real life situation that happened to you. Can you just kind of, allude us into how this, how the whole book came out?
Yeah, so this is my second published book. I have a third ebook that was just an online book. But I've been kind of kicking around some ideas, and I had this experience that I opened the book up with that, I'll give you some of the details. I'd like people to dig into it, right? But because it's a big story, and I can't really do it full justice. But essentially, someone very, very close to me, a good friend of mine, who I trained martial arts with, and was going through an episode, let's say. And I didn't know the full extent of it. I just knew that he was going through something, and I was getting worried about him. And I essentially went out to help him, and ended up finding him. And this was in wintertime. And then on the car ride home, there was cops there and everything when we found him. And he was a missing person at that point. And we ended up finding him. And then on the car ride home, he started to, I don't know how you would call it, go into some delusion, and ended up running out of my car while I was going 55 miles an hour down the freeway, and I freaking slam on the brakes. He takes off running. And again, it's wintertime. He's only wearing sweatpants. And so my instinct is to go help this person. And I'd called someone else and say, hey, make sure we call the cops. I don't know what's going on. That phone call never went through. So I was alone in the woods without even knowing it. And when I found him, he essentially kind of, baited me in, and I was unaware of what was going on. I was just trying to help him, And when I got close, he attacked me and did everything he could to kill me. And it was a very intense, on the brink of, where I could taste the precipice between life and death, back and forth many times, because I was taken so off guard. This person is trained, and they were in a state where, it's like this. Afterwards, it was explained to me, they go into this almost superhuman state, right? They told me a story about a girl who was able to break or broke both her elbows when they restrained her at one point. She was like 16-year-old girl was able to do this. And so he was just, everything was sharp, and I was still trying to catch my whereabouts. And I took a whole bunch of strikes to the head and defending chokes and all these different things that luckily I was trained to defend. But I was always behind the 8 ball, and ended up in the midst of it losing half my ear. He got bit off. I watched my ear fall and hit my leg and get shoved back to the ground. And, it's an intense story. Jeez. But what I really want the message to be is there's so many blessings in it as well, right? There's me traveling down the path of forgiveness with this person and going to a place of love, understanding, empathy. There's me deepening my relationship with my kids and my loved ones. There's me discovering that moment where there's all that stuff we always say that I should do this, I will do this. The time is right fucking now. You don't know how thin that line can be. And when I came right to the brink of it, I really saw it. And I'm like, oh, it's on. We're going to live now, And so that, and amongst many other gifts, are what I'm extracting from this experience. And there's a section in the book that actually is called "You Can Get Bitter or You Can Get Better." And I could have allowed those things to make me bitter, right? And, I struggled with it. There was moments where I woke up, I'm like, I'd be angry or whatever, but I'm like, that ain't going to serve me. This ain't going to serve anybody. It's going to be poison for me. And so I would pray, meditate, love, 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 let it go, let it go. And over time, I've really come full circle with so many different emotions. And then this book is kind of like a byproduct of that, because it was another thing that I was putting off. Like, oh, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to write another one, you know? And then some people they reached out to me and were like, yo, is it time? You know, like, let's do it. And it was also a very therapeutic process to go through and to create this book and share these lessons and work through it and feel my emotions. And I mean, I cried making this book. And then now to see it so well received by so many people, because a lot of what I share in there, it's my story, but it's also your story. Mm-hmm. You're going to have your own version of it, right? Where you got betrayed, or where someone broke your heart, or where someone hurt you and they didn't say sorry, or whatever it is. And so my story is your story. And I think vulnerability is medicine in itself. And I think, you know, the book is titled Scars because your scars tell a story. Like, you have scars right now you could probably point to, like, oh yeah, this when this happened, and I remember this one and this one. Well, I got those too, and they all tell a story, but we also have scars you can't see. Mm-hmm. And those scars also tell a story. And so what I'm really encouraging people to do with this book is to lean into your scars and realize that you don't have to hide from them, that they're a semblance of your strength and your superpowers. And as you unpack that, it'll really be special for you and for everybody in your life.
That's an interesting point, because one of the things I did want to talk to you about is I think as a society right now, we are so prone to taking the victim mentality, right? Yeah, and we're going to let that totally consume us. All consuming, and like you had just pointed to, I mean, it'll eat you up alive. And, you know, you'll become this completely other monster that you had no intent of ever becoming, right? And that's one of the coolest things as I'm getting into this. Yeah. That's one of the, because even when I watch your shorts, even when I go to your channel, and even when I listen to you on other people's shows, I mean, it's like you have this mindset that says, not fucking today.
Yes.
You know, today's not that day. Don't let it take you down. And that's the kind of stuff I think that people need to remember every single day, because it is a gift, right? These days, you know, hanging out with the family, being able to come home every single day, like that is not guaranteed tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. So it is nice that you're taking that approach. I mean, you have a lot of experience in, you're a breath coach, right?
Yeah, I do breath work. That's one of the tools I use.
And shaman, or kind of, you do meditation.
Yeah,
and stuff,
meditation
right?
and stuff. Yeah.
So then before I guess I should have alluded with this. So you, after football, you did get into boxing, right?
Yeah. Well, I started boxing when I was around 12. I think is when I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was something that still to this day
I train. Yeah, I don't like spar. I haven't like sparred in years. You know, I don't want to get hit in the head anymore or anything like that. Right. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Martial arts and stuff has always been a deep part of my life. I've done Brazilian jiu-jitsu now for over a decade. Yeah, just all they're all special in their own way, you know.
Yep. And that's and I think, you know, I've had law enforcement on here and stuff like that, and I think one of the biggest problems that we have with the military and law enforcement is they're essentially just set out there to become these animals, right? And there's nothing being done for the inside of them during and after. And so I really feel that a lot of people have ideas of, you know, what police training should look like, right? Get out there, pistol work, you're gonna get some rifle work, the end. Then they get home, they're pissed off. You know, they're more often than not, you know, they can be, you know, abusive, and they're suicidal, and they're not. There's no nobody there. There's no protection, and so it's up to, I think, us as civilians and friends and family to watch out for those people. And I think that you have the mindset that I would like to, me myself have been trying to work on adopting, you know, more, you know, instead of coming home and being, you know, bringing all that hostility and animosity with me from the workplace. I mean, come home, enjoy that time with the family that we know we're not necessarily going to have tomorrow, you know, so.
Well, it's true, brother. And you're talking a lot too about like, something that's near and dear to me is speaking with men, right? Because we have our own unique challenges, and a lot of what we struggle with is conditionings. And so you get conditioned through your society, and it comes across in these little phrases like suck it up, don't be a pussy, cowboy up, you know, strap up your bootstraps or whatever, you know, like these little like sayings that you don't even know it, but you start to adopt. And then all of a sudden you're living that way, and you're going through a hard time, you're struggling, and we don't know who to turn to. And so oftentimes maybe we turn to the people closest to us, and that might be your girlfriend, your spouse, and they got their own challenges. And I don't believe that's always the best place, because the best place really should be your brothers, because we're going through it too. And we struggle to do that. And so I really want to encourage men to talk to men and be okay with showing that side of weakness or vulnerability. It's not weakness unless you don't take action. Like if you're struggling with something and you say, maybe you share it and then you're like, well, I'm not going to do anything about it. Well, that's weakness, right? But I don't believe most men are like that. We're going to share it and we're going to go, all right, bro, like you got this. Let's go do X, Y, and Z. That's strength. That's a beautiful thing. And so I want to create more spaces. I want to encourage more men. And that's what this book for is too. Like I said, it's your story as well, because you'll see my different, what you would call them failures, setbacks. And I just learned over time, like for something to be a failure, I have to agree with that in my mind. I have to say this is a failure. And it's bullshit. It's fake. Like what is the failure, right? We get conditioned through our society, our peers, our social groups, our school system. For something to be an A, you have to get 90% on it. Motherfucker, who got 90% on anything, right? And so then what happens is you don't try when you get older. You shy away from things. But I want to encourage you, like, if you tried and it didn't work out, way to fucking go. Like, that's what's up. You know what I mean? Like, that's the guy I want to roll with. So try more shit. Fail more often. But again, for it to be a failure, you have to agree with it. So don't agree with it. It's not.
And do you agree? I mean, a lot of times you'll hear, they're utilizing a failure as a learning experience. I mean, and that's a jump off point for don't do it the same way. Or maybe it was the wrong person you tried it with or whatever, right? I mean, that's for, for business, that's for family, that's for, that's for friends, that's for all that. I mean, you will fuck up. Yeah. You will make mistakes, and it's up to you to decide to get back up or not, or do it differently, right? And kids these days, I think, are falling very much so to being victims of not getting back up.
Right.
And so you were at the high school, at our Douglas High School recently, and you had the opportunity to speak, right?
Yeah.
How did that go? Like, how did they receive you?
It was, that's a good question. So I had some different, because there was two things going on, right? It's me speaking with them, and then also me seeing who I'm speaking to in real time, right? And so that's what I'm digesting in hyper speed. Yeah. No, it's behind the scenes what's going on. Because I didn't really know how it would go, right? Like, it's a different audience or whatever. And I could tell how, you talked earlier about that victim mentality. I could see that in some of them. I could see how disengaged so many of them were, whether it be from life, I don't know, but definitely from school. And I'm not even going to say I blame them. And also, it's part of the system again. Like what they're being taught isn't necessarily the tools that we need, right? So you talked about then we get professional careers, and we still don't know how to figure it out. And so what I ended up doing was kind of adjusting it and really speaking to them about, look, this is what life is going to look like for you. Right? If you don't figure these simple things out in life, right? If you don't realize, in fact, this might be even good for the audience too. It's just a short little example, right? I had a Starbucks cup, and I grabbed the Starbucks cup, and I'm like, look, this Starbucks cost me $7, let's say, right? And if I get this for $7, I'm willing to pay it. There's enough value there for me to buy it, right? But if I grab it, and this is supposed to be hot and it's cold, and it's supposed to have some vanilla in it, and they forgot to put the vanilla in it, and then it's just a tea bag, right? Is it worth $7? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, so that's called value. And so you're the same as a person. And so one of the things you're always doing is you're learning to invest on yourself. You're learning to develop who you are and understand the value you bring to the world, and you can improve that. And so if you don't develop value, you're going to be the tea bag, and then get ready for $2, 50 cents, whatever it is, right? But if you continue to develop yourself and build your value, now I'm willing to pay you $7, right? Obviously fake numbers, but it gave them a real concrete idea of what's going on. I'm like, you're going to leave this school soon, before you know it, right? We know. Seems like yesterday you're in school, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, what's going on, right? Responsibility, real life hits.
All right.
But yeah, I had to wake them up a little bit. A lot of what I do too is, it's has a lot of unpacking in the word, but like waking people up is a real thing, right? Like understanding what it means to kind of be asleep in life and really wake up to a deeper reality that exists. And it's a rabbit hole, but
that's man, that goes deep. I mean, that's one of the things that we were talking about before we started rolling. With me, I kind of came to the conclusion last year when I started this podcast. I was going to take some of my fears, some of the things that I felt like I could improve upon, and just kind of encapsulate those. Right, I ended up leaving a job I was way too comfortable in, going and trying to go being a project manager. I have no idea what I'm doing now, but it keeps me excited every day. I'm learning something of value.
Yeah,
this gives me an opportunity to speak to people that may not know, and I'm trying to translate that to my real world applications, where I go into a room full of contractors that are, the old gray hairs. They don't give a shit what I'm saying at all. I'm just some state worker, but anyways, it's my project, and trying to encapsulate, or trying to take that moment and kind of seize it and let them know that, that it is my project. And you guys do work for the, for us over the course of this work. So, it's neat because, like I said, it takes people like you and Josh. I mean, you guys have been a huge help, helping me make that leap and go, you know what, you can do better, right? Never been good at public speaking. Well, you know what? Go get a job that you actually have to go and sit there full of full of people and go to talk to them,
right?
Face the fears, look them down the throat, and see what happens. And so, am I good at it yet? No, but you know what? I'm getting a lot better at it, and so I applaud you for being out there and taking the opportunity, especially when there is that perception that you're not going to be well received. Right?
Yeah.
These kids, especially kids are like, what the hell is this?
Who's this guy?
Yeah, and they're probably just looking to get done with it. So, do you, besides the high school, I know you do business coaching. I mean, do you do that as well, right?
Yeah, I do coaching, and it's mostly with entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of tailored towards entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you get the same kind of glazed look when you come in and start talking with them?
It depends. I think anybody, because in that dynamic in particular, this might relate to people just in leadership, let's say, or certain situations, even talking to your kids sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you know? Right? And so kind of one of the things I always try to do is break it down with like a real story. And so like with entrepreneurs, one of the things I talk about in my book is I had a very successful business at one point that I ended up losing. Car repossessed, house lost, friends lost, business lost, all of it, rock bottom moment. And I'll share with a story like that right away. And they're like, oh, now I'm listening, right? Same with kids, right? Like remind them that, I was a kid once too. And like with my kids, I keep it 100. I'm like, look, I know what you're already thinking. I know what you're already doing here. Like, and it's cool, but let's just talk about it. Let's be real with each other. And I would encourage people in leadership, same thing, right? Like, look, like it's easy to assume maybe it's your dream job, but that doesn't mean it's someone else's.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Right. And so it's finding that bridge of connection and relatability that really goes a long way. And so anytime I'm coaching or speaking with people, I'm trying to do that first. Because what is this saying? Like, nobody cares till they know how much you care. I find that's actually really true, right? So I'm always looking to do that first. Like, I care about you. Where are you going? What are you trying to do in life? And everybody has a different version of that. And so the more I can understand that and then dial into it and bring them there, like, then you go back to value, then you become more valuable, right? Like some entrepreneurs I work with, it's like, maybe it's just about the money, right? But honestly, it's very rare. Most of them, it's end up being about their marriage. It's about them and their kids, and it's them about, maybe they're just kind of lost in life. They're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, and that becomes a very spiritual conversation. And this conversation about presence and meditation, these different powerful things, changing paradigms. So I just have to understand where you're at, right? And if I understand how to cross the bridge with you, then I'll help you do that. If I don't, I'll tell you I don't. And we'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
Right?
What is so in something like that? I mean, you get essentially sessions with them. You start kind of building a business or a model, I would assume, and tailor it to their specific wants and needs, right? And so, what does it take on the back end of the scale? Like when you're when you're looking at somebody's business and you got somebody that's stubborn as hell and unwilling to, like how do you like dig in there and actually get them to start listening?
Nice. Okay. That's a good technical question, actually, right? Okay, so check this. Like one of the reasons they pay me is because I have to be the person in their life that calls them out. Because most people don't, right? So when they're at work, they're the boss man. So they're like, we're going to do this. Everyone's like, we shouldn't do it. But okay, sounds good, right? And so I'm the one that's to call them out when they're fucking up. And so like, I mean, I got clients who, clients who do very, very well, millions and millions of dollars in revenue and stuff, right? And my business doesn't do that, right? So, but how do I get them to listen to me, right?
Right.
So one is I have to establish authority, right? And let them know that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I have to give them clear reasons as to why this is a problem. So as an example, I'm talking to a guy, CEO, owner, and he's getting sick and he's not taking care of himself in certain ways, right? So I call him, I'm like, bro, first of all, there's an actual fucking cost to that. Like, what is that costing you, right? Like, you're not making money that day. You're not there that day to do X, Y, and Z. And there's an opportunity cost that's associated with it because you're not operating your optimum levels. Now you're not connecting with this person. You're not thinking a certain way. You're not being creative over here. And so what does that cost you? And the higher you go up in that realm, the more it costs you. And so then I paint the picture, right? Call him out. And he actually respects me more because I call him out and I speak truth to him. Because no one else does.
Nobody else will.
Right?
Interesting.
I believe as humans, we have like these deep, like at the core of it, we have deep primal instincts. And so that's why in communication, sub-communication is really important. The way you speak, your tonality, the way you move. Because that's also showing a vein of like, are you congruent? Can I trust what you're saying? And so when I'm speaking to somebody, the authority that I establish is in the way I say it and the way I frame it, right? I frame it and say it in a way like, I've done this for like 2 decades. I've been working with people, you know what I mean? And I'm willing to be wrong and say, hey, that's all right, cool, let's talk about it, right? But in this area, I don't think I am, and I'm gonna tell you why, right? And I'll speak with that energy, and they'll usually like, oh shit, you're right.
So does most of this, I mean, your techniques, I mean, come mainly from personal experience, or where does the knowledge, I mean, really stem from?
So I've been blessed with some really good mentors. I believe that you should always, I'm actively seeking out mentors. Always. I'm always seeking out mentors. Always, always, always. I believe with mentors, it's better to go narrow and deep rather than broad. So what that means is when you find a good mentor, spend time with them, get to know them for years. Mentorship, in fact, is a very personal and deep subject to me. With your mentors, you always want to look to create win-win scenarios. So when I find a mentor, I make like content or something like that. I'll get one of their videos, I'll download it, and I'll make it into short form for them and go, hey, bro, I made you some videos. They're like, dude, dope, thanks, right?
That's cool.
Or hey, how can I help you with this? Or let's clean up after this here. Sure. Why don't if you want me to speak or something, I'll do that. That's on me. I got you, And so I'm always looking to create win-win situations, and that keeps a very healthy relationship. I don't want to create a taking relationship, because a lot of people do that in mentorship is they extract value and they exit and they leave. And so that's why a lot of mentors get very sheltered over time. And so that keeps me open, helps me to receive, and helps me to give. And that's a healthy thing as a human to do. So I'm always, you can probably tell, I'm getting deep connection with mentors. I'm learning a lot from them. Those relationships go a long ways. In fact, in my book, towards the end, I call them the mentor secrets. And there's 2 mentors I discuss, and I tell you like these lessons that they taught me. It's these 2 like deep veins, these powerful lessons that they taught me. And then you learn in one of 2 ways in life. You learn through secondhand experience, which is reading a book, watching the podcast, listening to a YouTube video, whatever it might be. And those are good, but you also learn through firsthand reference experience. So I like to be a doer. I like to practice what I preach. I like to go and do it. Like maybe we'll get into it, but I have some very bizarre things I do from the outside, you might think, but I challenge myself in many ways to break what I call the box. And that box is the way you were conditioned. It's given to you as a young person growing up. It's like, hey, this is the way we speak. This is the way we think. This is what we believe in. your second birth doesn't happen until you assess the box and break out of it. Go, wait, what do I believe, right? And you reassess everything, and then you show up how you want to show up, and that's how you create actual change.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things
of what
that you do that are outside of the?
Okay, so one of the hardest things for people to do, I find, is social stuff. So I'm always trying to stretch my social box, because this is deep. I'm gonna nerd out for you for a second.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
So again, going back to the brain being very primal. Okay, we have 98% of the same DNA as chimpanzees, and in fact, there's a show on Netflix, a series called Chimp Empire. It follows around these group of chimpanzees for I think like a couple of decades or something. It's phenomenal, but it shows you like these primal ways that we were developed and evolved as a species that still exist. Like we're intelligent, let's say, right? We have these brains, we can think and do these different things, but at the core of it, we're very primal. And so you're either working with or against your own DNA, right? And so the goal is to get all those things working on your favor. So what happens oftentimes is, I can see it in the development of my own voice over the years, other people's voices, is your voice will often replicate how you perceive yourself fitting into the world around you. And so, as an example, one of the things I'll do is like, say I go out to eat dinner, and we all have our like dinner voice, right? You're at a restaurant, like, yeah, we're talking, waiter, waitress comes over, and you kind of quiet down. Maybe you stop your conversation. So I'm aware of that consciously. And so what that is me going, this is what I'm allowed to speak like in this environment. And then that shows up in life. This is what I'm allowed to make as far as income comes. This is the people I'm allowed to communicate with and exist with. And so it's always actually giving you a reference point of what you're doing in life, right? So I'll break that in those situations. So I'll talk louder. I'll just start being ridiculous. I'll start making jokes. And the people around me will start to feel uncomfortable. But I'm doing it on purpose, consciously, to stretch my box, because that is not comfortable or normal to me.
Interesting.
When I'll go out to like dance and stuff. I'll go out completely sober, and I will go up and I will talk to women. I will introduce myself to them, because I've been out with friends who are professional MMA fighters, and they won't do that. And here I'm like, yo, we're like some bad dudes, you know what I mean? Like, we can't even go talk to a girl. We're still in middle school, right? But when you do that, it gives you a quick like, and the reason is because we construct these identities of who we are. And in that instant, it can be broken. You think you're cool, you think you're this, boom, go up, and this girl's like, get out of here. And you're like, and maybe she's not even attractive, you know? And then what does that create in your mind? Right? And so the goal is to break those conditionings and be self-validated. I'm already self-validated. I don't need you to approve anything about me. That's real confidence. And that takes you a long way in life. So I'm always constructing those parts of me. It's like constructing and breaking, right? Breaking away these false parts of the identity and the ego and building up this deeper, true core self of who we are. And so it's actually more of a subtraction game in life than is an addition game.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, especially when I was just having a conversation at work today about, we're talking about the decline of populations, right? Because people are now so comfortable with not going out. They're really cool with just sitting in front of a TV or in front of a computer, right? That countries, China is declining like at a cliff.
Wow.
The older ones are dying and the new ones are not coming. And so there was I don't know where it was, but they're talking about China is actually contracting with American males, breeding age American males, to come over there and try to impregnate Chinese women. So I don't know if there's any truth to it or not.
There'll be some dudes hopping in the front line. Take me over there.
You got to go to China for it. But, it was and like I said, I don't know if there's any truth to that. But they were talking about how, and that's the same thing here as we get into the baby boomers, getting older and slowing down. I read an article about, younger generations capitalizing on, instead of trying to go be self-made millionaires, they're capitalizing on existing businesses that baby boomers are essentially aging out of. Go buy up the company. You already got a working staff. This is a different conversation.
No, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, but the point is that you have the younger generations working a little bit differently. And so if you come in with that kind of mindset, I mean, I think going out and dancing, and it's kind of cliche, but like nobody's watching. And I live my life like that,
Nice.
It'll take me a couple of drinks to do it, but I don't care. And once I get out there, it's like, I have a blast.
Good.
Whoever wants to come have a blast,
Yes.
come have a blast,
Yes.
And so, but it's interesting that, at a wedding a couple of weeks ago, and I was the only dude on the dance floor at the wedding, right? And I danced the entire night, even though I'm not
Let's
equipped to
go,
do so. But
attaboy.
I mean, but
Yes.
it is nice to get out
Yes.
there and just stop giving a shit
Yes.
about,
liberating.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice, and a lot of people are not okay with that. It's interesting that you make that point.
It's massive. I believe, like, that's another, like, freedom. You want the first level of freedom is for it to exist in your mind, and you're not really free if you're living your life for other people's approval and opinions, and you're stuck in their judgments. And so freedom really comes from when we can just put ourselves out there. And again, I opened with that story about the challenge I faced or whatever, with that experience. But that was kind of another deepening of that gift, was like, yo, bro, you got no time to waste. Like, and you're wasting time when you're thinking about what he's thinking, she's thinking, they're thinking. Like, nah, like, you're good. Like, I'm open. If I fuck up, tell me and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to live my life like I already am fucking up. I'm going to live my life like we're going. We're doing it. It's now. Let's expand. Because, like, I always say, you playing small in life doesn't serve anybody.
Right.
It doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve others. So play big. Let's go.
So many people are completely content with just living, just a small pivotal, and that it's fine. We need people to do everything, and you can't everybody just be some bad assets.
Right.
If we thought like that, if everybody thought the same way, we'd be really fucked. So but to have the mentality that you're not, that you are better than this, and that's one of the things I wake up in the morning and just a little bit of self affirmation. It's like, dude, today's gonna be a good fucking day, and it's like you go out there, and even though I'm tired as shit, and dragging my ass to work, and it's like, dude, I get there, work is awesome, the job is awesome, the people are awesome. I mean, the interactions, all of it, even though it's complete shit government work that has got so much red tape and all this, the stuff that comes with the challenges that come with it, it's still. I'm blessed to be there every single day. Just so pumped that I get to walk into that job. So it's a good feeling.
Beautiful. Gratitude, right? Yeah, gratitude's like a magnet for positivity in your life. It'll pull in the good towards you. I talk about that in my book too. How one of the stories I shared was one of the struggles I had for a while was our house was very small, and all three of my kids shared one room. And I used to really bother me. I'm like, fuck, man, like, they don't have this or that, and I had this in life. They don't have it. And then, it's like this big victim, right? You talked about victimhood, right? That's a form of being the victim, right? Woe is me, and God forbid all these other things that are going on, right? That could be way freaking worse.
Right,
And I'm here crying
course,
over my kids sharing one bedroom. And then, but what was really special that happened is, like, in that moment, quite literally, I remember it was like this morning, where I was in this like dark, heavy spot, and it was like I cracked, and I heard my kids start like laughing. They're playing in their room, and it was like I got shown a window of the other side of the coin, and I was like, damn, like, it doesn't even bother them. I'm the one, again, making an agreement that this is something negative. In fact, that's very special. They're super close. They call themselves the three little buddies, right? They'll remember this forever. What a gift that is. And it was like, and I remember like starting to cry and be like, what the fuck, dude? No way. Because I could feel the shift in energy. I was in this dense, heavy, dark energy. And literally by changing my perception in an instant, in the same fucking moment, I saw the change and I felt it. And it was like a shedding, right? And I believe, we're similar to nature. Like, we're like the leaves. We shed. We're like a snake. We shed layers. And it was like I was shedding a layer in that instant, and I felt it. I was like, whoa, wait, what? Like, this can happen? Like, just by changing your mindset, your perspective, you can change your reality. And it literally changed my reality. I became lighter, more grateful. Your mind clears out. You start thinking differently, more creative, more positive. And it fucking changed my life, literally. And so, yes, gratitude first. Then we can look to adjust some things. Maybe this isn't the best. That's not the best.
Right.
Cool, right? Let's adjust it, right?
and having the attitude that you can, that you will, that determination, I think is a lot of what's lost on a lot of people anymore. They don't have the drive to go out there and do it, like we alluded to earlier. Everybody's sitting and just allowing life to slip by, and being okay with their situation. And like I said, as long as you are comfortable with that situation, I mean, that's on you. There's not a whole lot you can do if you're not asking or not wanting and not actively, going forward and progressing. I mean, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to be living that life, forever.
Why? Let me flip it over to you. Why do you think people struggle to create change?
I think the simplest answer is because we get so wrapped up in. That's tough.
That's
tough.
Huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get so wrapped. It's so easy for us just to say, "This is fine. I'm okay right here," even though it may not necessarily be okay. A good example of that is wife and I were in Murphy's, California over the last weekend for our anniversary. We were at a bar. Thank you. And we were at a bar, and this guy comes up, and I could tell he was a junkie, right? But he's in the bar drinking, and so I was talking to the guy, and I was like, what's your story? Tell me your story, because the idea is I wanted to see that he had worth, that he doesn't need to necessarily be this guy that he's being, right? Wow. And what he did is he completely he said, "No, I'm fucking good being like this. I'm good being strung out. I'm good being homeless. I don't give a shit." But what the saddest part is when I asked him what are his strengths, what does he do? What is he good at? Right? He goes over to the piano. He was amused, man. He was so good.
So way.
Fucking good, right? And he's just shitting this off, and then he'll just roll through town to town, come in there, like drink off, get some drinks from whatever, and and he was hanging out. I didn't even know he was homeless at first, right? Yeah. And then I kind of started seeing him like kind of just edgy, and he was kind of irritable, and but I was sad. He had no will to do any better. So, I mean, what's your take on that? What do you think?
I think there's a lot of layers to it, right? But one is, man, look, like, I'm gonna get a little deep, right? But like, if you really take a step back, and I would encourage everyone to do that, right? Maybe it's your quiet time, your prayer time, your meditation, and just ask the question, like, what is this? What are we in right now? Like, what's going on? What are we here to do? And I believe that this, like, space we're on Earth right now, this existence, it certainly ain't perfect, right? It is challenging. I believe we're here to learn. Like, we have to bend our mindset from, like, the goal is ease. Like, life is supposed to be comfort, Like, I don't see a lot of people who are really dope who just lived a comfortable life. Like, they went through some shit. And that's where the growth comes from. And so there's a false narrative going on that life is supposed to be this, like, easy thing. And so that helps us just change the frame. Like, your challenges are part of your growth. Your pain has a purpose to it. And I think what a lot of people struggle with is confidence. They struggle to believe that they can do something. And so then when you look at it, you go, wait, if the goal is to learn, the goal is to grow, then I look at it like this. And I don't even mean this from like a religious standpoint, but I find it to be very powerful, is you have this linear growth. So if you think about like that line moving from left to right, let's say, and that's you stepping into life. That's you facing the challenges. It's one of the beautiful things about entrepreneurship. It's like its own self-development course. And so you go through the struggles, and just life in general is going to do that. It's going to present you with these challenges. So as you move along life on this linear progression from birth to death, you learn these lessons. And then also, as you're doing that, there's a vertical growth taking place. And that vertical growth is your inner growth. It's the doorway to success always opens inside, not outside. And so it's learning like, yo, man, I got to learn to let go in life. Like, I'm squeezing the shit out of everything. I got to learn to forgive. I got to learn to forgive myself. This shame that I'm carrying, this guilt, why am I carrying that? Where did I get that narrative from? Like society, my parents. yo, that's their story. It doesn't have to be mine.
Right.
And so then you're getting this linear growth and this vertical growth. And that makes a cross. And the cross is a heavy thing and a hard thing to carry, but it's worth carrying. And so I believe that's what we're here to do. That is life.
Now, you, as a father, how do you approach, and I've listened to a few things that you've said, and a lot of it's really good. And if you haven't checked them out on Facebook, if you haven't seen them on the socials, there's a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of real empowering stuff, and it's super fun. But I really do enjoy, when you start trying to make that connection to, the struggles in life and your children, because they are, like we talked about the high school kids. I mean, they don't know yet. Like, we're in a weird time. I mean, kids definitely have their own challenges, and school's scary right now. I mean, life is scary right now, right? But how do you convey that to your children? I mean, how do you show them? It's younger kids. How do you mold them to do that?
Thank you, brother. That's one of the most significant things to me in life, right? Is sharing those, passing on what I can. I mean, that's like my YouTube channel is because, honestly, it's so that my kids, if something happens to me or when I do pass, they can go back and go, damn, Dad was talking about some cool shit, right? And other people can look at it, hopefully it will get better and better over time, and people can be like, oh, this is dope, or this helps, right? It's like these timepieces. But with my kids, what I'm looking for is the lesson, right? So as an example, let's say they play flag football. You will not hear me. I'll maybe briefly mention bro, that touchdown was sick, or that catch was dope. You know what I mean? I'll give them a little hype. That was sick, right? But what I remind them of every time is I love the way you guys listen. I love the effort you put into this. I love the way you celebrate with your teammates. I love how loose you are out there, man, when you play. And, you got a touchdown where did somersault and, did a little dance afterwards. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, baby. You got to have fun when you're doing things, So I'm impressing upon them those, the deep core things. What it really is, and this is important for us as adults, because you probably weren't taught this way. I wasn't. Most of us weren't. Is it learning to honor the process of life versus the outcome? The outcome is the metaphorical, maybe literal touchdown. Bro, those maybe come, maybe they won't. But what's promised to you only is the process. And so that's what we honor. So I honor the process of my kids. Man, I appreciate the way you're doing this. Or if they're not, I will stop. I've spent 3 hours, damn near a couple of weeks ago, one of my kids, I don't remember what, wasn't taking responsibility for something. And I'm like, yo, dog, you ain't getting this. I can tell in your voice, you're not really sorry about it. In here, and I'm breaking it down, you're taking it personal. It's not about you, bro. You're looking at you, but it's about other people right now. This is how it affected everyone else. I need you to see that. And we were on a trip. I don't know. We're gonna go get ice cream in Carson City or something. It ain't happening. We're gonna spend 3 hours. And I'm not, and I'm giving space to it. I'm not just hammering it, but I'm giving space, and we'll drive a little bit. We're gonna go over here, and I'll come check back in. How you feeling, bro? You understand what I'm saying? Until finally I see damn, you got it. Because I remind them, if you're lucky, bro, we got me till you're 18. After 18, it's on you, homie. So time is now, and I'm just gonna share as many lessons as I can with you, and you ain't got to be about the outcome for me or anything else in life. You're already enough as you are. It's important for all of us to hear. You're enough as you are. You got to pass that test with the universe first.
Right.
You're enough as you are. You're good. Right. Don't worry about adding shit on to who you are. You're good. Right. And then we learn those lessons.
And you see them as they've gotten older. I mean, it was crazy to see how big they've gotten. I was like, holy smokes! But they're picking that up. You see them utilizing that.
Oh, it's strong.
This little baby sip. These are all just sippers. Most of these are just sippers.
Wow.
This will last you a few hours.
Really? My two oldest started middle school, and
crazy.
Yeah, middle school, 6th and 7th grade. 6th grade's in middle school up there. But I notice it in their confidence, the friends they choose, the way they speak. And I can just tell what they reflect back to me, how much they appreciate me. All these things are taking root.
Good.
And in general, at the end of the day, it's also their life. I remember one time, in fact, nerdy little story, but being in walking, kind of having this little walking meditation and kind of talking with God, the universe, like I feel stressed, and I feel stressed because I want to do my kids right. And what I felt in that moment was the universe was like, they're my kids too. Give space, bro. Give some space. Like they gotta have their own growth.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
was like, damn, like let go a little bit, homie. You're good. You can only do your best.
That with parenting and the way it works, I mean, especially when they get into young adults, I mean, they're spending so much time away from you that you can't control it all, right? I mean, it's scary.
Right.
I mean, it scares me to death. I mean, when the kids aren't here and I don't get to know what they're doing, or they're online, or whatever. It's like, what's happening? They're on their phones texting or whatever, and you can't tell that. You don't know what's going on at school.
Right.
And so it's scary, but you have to, like you're saying, you have to trust the process and hope. I mean,
and you're right, and I think that's where like our vulnerability and authenticity can go a long way. It's like I'll tell my kids, like, look, your friends are gonna have phones. They're probably gonna want to show you pictures or images or certain videos, and that's fair, and it's okay to feel certain emotions towards it and this. And so I'm being human with them.
Sure.
Like that's normal, bro, right? And I'm like, but look, I also want you to know, like, too much of that or looking at this is gonna kind of create this. It can do X, Y, and Z in your life. So it's just giving them the picture. Right? Like one of the things, I nerd out in food, right? Like I like to eat very healthy. And so I won't tell them, no, you can't eat that candy, but I'll grab the candy and I'll be like, yo, man, this sucralose is like a chemical sugar, right? And it's really hard for your body to digest. And it has some different, like, disrupt different systems in the body. And this right here, this is a dye, and this dye can't be processed by your body. And this, but yeah, bro, there you go. And I was like, you know what I mean? And they're like, nah, I'm good, like, all right, But every now and then they'll grab the Snickers or whatever, and it's cool, right? Because I want them to be human, And that way I'm not like controlling them, I'm empowering them. I think that's the big shift.
That's interesting. We have I was listening to something you said, you don't necessarily tell your kids no unless it's time, like unless you really mean it. And,
right.
We're and it kind of really resonated with me because here, we've been so adamant about being not. Ask the kids and I'll say it's super strict, but but just I want them to walk this line, and I wanted them to be polite. I wanted them to to look people in the eyes when they're talking to them. I wanted to shake hands. The things that a lot of kids aren't being taught at home. And so it from their perspective comes off as very, very small box, and they feel like they're always being punished. Right. We're trying to protect them. They don't understand that, but there's so much of their day that isn't accounted for. And so it's nice when they go to a friend's house and the mom reports back, I mean, your son is absolutely amazing, right? And he's welcomed everywhere, right? We won't have the other kid can't come over. He's an asshole, right? So it's like we did something right, and a lot of it, like I said, I mean, it's their genes, it's their nature. They were born that way, and I can't take much of the credit, but it feels nice to know that the kid, my son anyway, he's heading in the right direction, and they both got really big smarts, and I just I hope they can apply that, and not let society beat that out of them, beat them down. It's scary. So I mean, middle school gets tough. And what's the school in Reno? I mean, what's school like Reno like?
I mean, they're at a good school that Marcy Hertz, I think that's how you say it. It's a newer school. Again, it's the same thing, bro. Like we have to, again, when you go to, like that word empowerment is so important, because I can't follow them around and say, don't hang out with this person, don't hang out with that one, when they're at school, right? But if I empower them, and what they also see in me is I'm very clear with who I choose to spend my time with, and I'm also very precise with how I spend my energy. And so they mimic that. Like they've seen me go, I ain't hanging with that dude. You know what I mean, right? Or this person, yes, or that person, no, or this, whatever, right? And so then they model that in their life, And so number one is we are setting the example, right? The way we show up in the world is going to be similar to something that they will pursue. That can be good or bad. that same conditioning from our parents and society and all these different things. And again, that is the box that you're going to have to assess at some point in your life. There'll be a day where my kids look at the metaphorical box that I've kind of given them, per se, and I hope they challenge it. I hope they go, yo, Dad, there's too much here, too little there, whatever. And I'm already ready for them to go, hey, you fucked me up. You did this. And I'm ready to go, I'm sorry, dude. My bad. Right?
Right.
Forgive me. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my best.
Now, do you have, and you don't have to answer this, but are you full custody?
So we split 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah. And what's cool is we have a great relationship.
Good.
We talk often. It was never anything that was negative, slamming doors. I talk about it a little bit in my book. That was something I never imagined happening. Like, I never went into marriage being like, oh, I wonder if one day. I never even thought about it. So it was like very tragic when it took place. It was very challenging. It was another experience where I realized that society didn't have to create the definition of what that meant for me. Because everyone looks at you like you're a wounded animal. How bad? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, yo, motherfucker, I don't need you to say sorry to hear that. What I need you to say is way to go. That took a lot of strength to do that. And same thing with my kids to that is, I'm sober. I would say, I'm having a drink with you here, but I don't drink. It wasn't like I went to the bars. It wasn't like I was out chasing women.
Sure.
I didn't create this like, woe is me, I'm the victim. It was like everything in life will be as the same, if not better. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We spent all summer exploring all over the United States. Went to all these national parks, and and so I've only seen an uptick from it, and it's with intention. Not that there won't be some challenges, right? But in general, I'd say they're fantastic. It's been cool, and
what do you say now? So people don't always get that, right? A divorce with children can be extremely difficult. Do you, in your experience, the influence from the 50-50, right? And for you, it obviously is working really well. But if you have, a complete different side of the spectrum when you go to mom's house versus dad's house, what would you say to dads that are going through that are necessarily not getting extreme pushback from the other side of the fence?
Good question, dude. And first, yeah, man, like, unless you've gone through it, it's hard. It's like having kids, right? That's some of the things, like,
no shit.
Like, you don't really know until you know, right? And so if you haven't gone through it, it's hard to relate. So, having gone through it, sending love for people who have gone through that experience. And, what helped me, I can say, is when I would get frustrated, when I would feel like, why are you doing that or this, or I'm worried about that, I would prayer, meditate, and I'd bring this like mantra of love. Like, I want love to win. Like, love is of highest order. Like, love. And what that would do is I'd start to see how she showed her love to them, and then it made me appreciate that. Like, that maybe I don't agree with X, Y, and Z, but you got A, B, and C figured out, and I appreciate that, right? And then when we're there with me, one of the things we have to be careful of is we'll often overcorrect, right? So if they're loose, you'll be strict, right? Whatever. If you're loose, you'll be more strict, whatever. So it's like, we just have to be careful of that and understand that, increase our communication. I never speak negative about her in front of them ever. In general, I don't, and so, like, I want them to always see her with strength and see her well, and to appreciate and respect her, all those things, And so I would say, like, prayer, meditation, zeroing in on what you're grateful for, going back to gratitude, remembering the highest order is love. What gets rewarded gets repeated. So if you tell your ex-partner, like, I appreciate the way you do this, you're doing a really good job with this, they'll move more towards that than if you point towards the negatives, right? So remind them of what they are doing well and stay in that good high vibe, positive energy. It's the only way to go. And, I'm grateful because we have this situation that works well. And, I also, at the same note, understand that there's some people that are probably in situations that it's not, right? And so it's like anything in life, like, you know, you're gonna have to take different actions per se. So I get it when maybe you're gonna have to set up a boundary, right? Maybe we're gonna have to enforce a certain thing or whatever. And, you know, it'd be harder for me to speak towards that because I haven't experienced that necessarily, but I also do understand what it's like to say, this isn't okay, right? It's okay to set a boundary, and this is what has to happen. And I'm, you know, I feel for anybody who's maybe in a situation like that.
Yeah, it's tough. And you see, you know, all too often, I mean, people that get in these situations where now that, you know, the kid's basically getting the shit into the stick on both sides of the fence, right? And it's tough because, you know, I you know, in my personal experience, I know this kid, and I mean, amazing kid, and thank God he turned out the way he did, right? I mean, it's you know, it's basically those two, when they split, the parents, I mean, they still to this day, you know, years later, still absolutely each other's throats. Like the worst case scenario for this kid, right? But then he goes there, and it's like ill will towards the parent, like that's all they want. It's like, fuck it. It's like, it's all never good, right? Never positive, never you know, constructive. Nothing's good. And so it's, I'm glad to hear, and I would expect nothing less from you, of course, you know, but I'm glad to hear that. I think that the kids are very lucky that, you know, everything worked out for the best, right?
Yeah, thank you. And in general, right, like I think, like, what's the highest order, dude? Is like you getting payback over somebody. Right. You know what I mean? In any situation, is you proving yourself right? Is you being better? Like, those are low level ways of thinking, right? And so just know that, be like the better person. Maybe they're doing that. They're like, you know, look at what he did or she did. Da da da. Be the person, be like, damn, you know, hey, yeah, I'm like that. I really appreciate them, right? I respect them. I love them. Hope she's good. Hope he's good, right? And then it kind of like calms it down. It's like, it's again, I'm another like biblical example, but I believe that's what it means, like turn the cheek. You know what I mean? It's like that, like fighting fire with fire never works. No. You know what I mean? So at some point, like, yo, you gotta pull the different energy out. You know, and I think that's the only way to really make progress over time. And
back to your, earlier point. I mean, you know, you are not guaranteed another day, and so to spend it in that mindset just seems so wasteful to me. You know, to go about life in that manner. I mean, you're reflecting on that with everyone you encounter, regardless if you know it or not. You're carrying that negative, that down energy with you to everyone around you, right?
Well, yeah, you said that spot on, like about wasting time. Look, dude, until you, and maybe people have had a moment like that, but until you really realize, like, time is not promised to you, you realize I don't want to waste time. Like, and also, if you're trying to move towards some dreams, some goals, ambitions, I don't know about you, but I don't have the luxury to waste time. Right. I ain't got it like that. You know, I gotta get after it, and I want to get after it in life. And same thing with the situation that happened with me. Like, everybody was telling me, like, you should do this, you should take action here, you should do this, and I was like, nah, I don't. That's between him, God. But you know what I mean? Like, I hope he turns out good, you know. And I don't want to waste my time and energy with that. I'm gonna make a book, I'm gonna go help people, I'm gonna do this, and I'll pray for them, and we're good. We're gonna move on.
Now, so was any of this written prior to, I mean, did you already have some of this scripted before actually getting to the event that led up to the
No, I mean, I had some idea. Again, I'd been kicking around the idea. I knew I was going to write another book. I just didn't know when. I understood a lot of the concepts I teach about and I went through. But when it was like this happened, it was kind of like this, you know, cathartic process of just like, oh, I got to get all this out, you know. And what I tried to do in writing the book was share an experience I had, but most importantly, because I didn't want to. You don't want to read a book where you're like, this happened to me, and then this happened, and this happened. And you're like, okay, cool, like, cool story. I wanted to be like, this happened, and boom, here's the lesson I learned, right? And then this little thing, and boom, here's a lesson. And so as you go through it, you're like, damn, nugget, you know? And then it leads into, the book's in 3 sections, and the final section is just like, it's that learning to be, you know, self-valid, this inner confidence, all these things that are really powerful. And then those mentor secrets. And so it was just building upon those like key elements that I believe we all need. And kind of what I actually extracted some stuff out of this into a speech that I give now. And it's how you have to have a map for life. And the M stands for mindset, and how you can't control a lot of things in life, but the one thing you can control is your mindset. And then A stands for the art of living. Because one of the things I share in there is I thought I knew how to live, but I didn't. And it's a whole process that I break down. Like, you really have to develop a palate for what it means to live. And when you develop a palate for living, your brain will start to figure out ways instinctually for you to do more of it. But we often get stuck in the trap of like, I don't got the money for it right now. I don't have this, da-da-da. And so you really don't have a palate for me. So then you tell me I want to do this in life. Same thing happened to me. And that's one of the mentor's secrets is he was like, bro, you don't even know what that's like. Like, it's just delusional. It's a fantasy for you. And you got to go get a taste of it, right? And then the P stands for presence. We have to learn to be in the here and the now, especially with our kids. And, you know, like, you can have time, but if you're not present in that time, where are you? And so deepening our presence deepens our experience in life.
So and that's an interesting point, because you, in the business that you're in, I would think naturally you would be bringing your work home with you. There'd be stuff that you have to do when you get home, when the kids are there. Do you find a way to kind of separate yourself from your work when it's your week on? I mean, just to be there 100% for them.
Good question, because I think a lot of people can relate to that. So I used to be like that. It used to follow me into my attempted sleep. It'd follow me when I'd wake up in the morning all the time. And I had to learn to train my brain. Very important point. Train my brain. So quite literally, I wrote down, I will not solve any problems after 5 p.m. I will, when my things would come into my mind, I'd start thinking about work, I'd start doing this, I go, nope, not going to solve. What the fuck are you figuring out after 5 anyways? Right, nothing, you know what I mean? Just spinning around on shit. And so I would like over and over, right? I'd train my brain. Every time it come up, like, nope, not right now. I'm not going to solve it. Not going to solve it. And it's like after a while, that voice kind of quiets down. It's like knocking on the door and finally it's like, he ain't going to solve it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, leave him alone, right? And, you know, I'll do other things. I'll put my phone away. I'll as I've learned how to become more present, like, I'm usually where I'm at, you know, much more. So when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids.
Cool.
But yeah, I've learned over time not to do that. And it's also like, look, if you actually do, because you're trying to solve things or figure out this little situation, two things is, one, you'll be much more effective if you conserve that energy and use it tomorrow when you actually have the time to solve it, right? So I realized, like, I would tell myself, like, it's only going to make you weaker. This is like diluting your energy. So save it, recharge, use it tomorrow. And then, what was my second point with it? Yeah, you don't want to dilute yourself. I don't know. I forgot the second point. When I remember, I'll remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls. I mean, to society right now is just. I mean, if we're not on our phones, we're not on social media. You know, we're still in separate rooms. I mean, there was, and I can't remember the number, and I'm going to pull it completely out of my ass, but like 60 something, like a high 60% of families don't even eat dinner together anymore.
Wow.
You know, the kids will go eat in their rooms.
Wow.
Parents will be out there, and most of the times they'll have separate eating areas where they're completely separate. So not only are you away from each other all day long, then you come home, hi, hug, boom, gone. Disconnect. Come out, get your dinner, go back in your room, right? Yes. And I think that was a lot of, you know, with me growing up, that was not an option. You know, my mother's side was, you know, an absolutely hell no. You know, it was she comes from a big family, and it was dinner tables here. And that was before technology too. And so trying to adapt that a little bit where, you know, now when our kids get home, they have phones, they leave their phones here. Right. And that's, we're working towards them not getting as much tech time, because it's, they are getting to a pivotal point in their lives where they need to start developing something besides just playing on their phones. I mean, it's a cancer, you know.
Dude, it's huge, right? Like look, like how much, you know, go back to that presence, being present in the moment, right? Really understanding what your existence is about, really understanding how to grow and learn, and these deeper things in life that I believe we're here to grab. what energy wouldn't want you to grab those lessons, right? And if you think of it like, I like to use like Star Wars as the analogy, right? You got the force and the dark side. Well, the dark side is going to create more, shows for you to watch, more access to quicker things on your phone. Now, there can be light in those things, right? You can use them for good, but you have to be aware of what it's bringing you towards. And as humans, one of the unique things about us is we can source energy. Like you can go out in the sun, right, in the morning and start to source energy. And so you can do the same thing with music, certain relationships and conversations. And so you have to ask yourself, where am I sourcing my energy right now? And so you want to move, obviously, right, towards sourcing it from the light as much as possible.
Interesting.
And then you can actually gain energy. Like as I mature, I feel like I'm getting more energy.
That's awesome. That's a good take on it, really. Yeah, I mean, it is, we have the world at our fingertips, and some people use that for good, and a lot of people don't, but we're constantly just flooded with crap that's telling you. I mean, you can, I just recently set a timer on my phone to go, dude, it's time. Like you're done for the day.
Nice.
Regardless of how fast that day, that limit comes, it's like you allotted your entire,
you used it. Yeah.
You're done. Yeah. Nothing else that's happening right now is worth knowing until tomorrow. So I'm gonna see how that progresses. I mean, once I get these with these episodes, I mean, I'll go through and do an edit, and it'll take me a couple hours to to get everything what I can do with it. But then when I'm not doing an episode, I want to just kind of, so what I did with Facebook is I had no hard feelings to anybody, in case anybody even noticed, but deleted every friend. I have no friends on Facebook. Deleted all my pages. Deleted all my all the liked stuff, the groups and all that stuff.
Wow.
The only thing I do use it for is Marketplace.
Wow.
And so what Facebook's trying to do, which is an interesting reason I'm bringing this up because it's so interesting, is they keep baiting me to go scroll down and see what it says. It's like this new thing. It's like, you want to see what's down there. And I'm like, no, I don't.
No, nice.
Marketplace, and so I'll just go to Marketplace, and it's kind of been, it's been neat. It's only been a week, but it's been pretty cool.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Dude.
So now I just got to weed out the other crap, and because it's tough, trying to make this thing do something.
Yeah.
And not be on there, and Bree's always, up my ass because I'm on there. And it's like, well, I need to figure out, and it's probably just excuses, but what's trending, where am I going to start getting, some, but because what I really want is the people that come on the show have such amazing stories, and it's not necessarily about my podcast. It's about the people that are sitting across the table from me, telling those stories that I want people to be able to see. I want people that don't know who Troy Fontana is to know that this book's out there and go find that book on Amazon.
Yes.
Right. And so, and then we have, instructors for firearms. We have, jewelers. We have, woodworkers and all these really cool people that are doing really cool shit that we are in such a small area that social media isn't allowing them to reach. Right. So if with this, this takes, and so whiskey being kind of a universal language across so many different countries. Right. And that's kind of the hopes, is that at some point, that'll be a good common bond to bring those people to a new audience, so that's the hopes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And creativity brings you closer to the creator, I believe. I believe it's a really powerful energy. And I think it's when you're intentional with stuff, you'll get your intention out of it. And so when you go online with the intention, I got to figure this out, or I want to learn about this, you're going to get it. But if you just go on there, and actually I got a video coming out this week about watching your patterns, because oftentimes, let's say you get home in the evening and you're kind of thinking about maybe this scenario where you were a little awkward or weird at work or whatever, you know what I mean, right? We all have those moments.
Of course,
whatever. And then watch your pattern. You'll reach for your phone because it's a distraction. It's an easy distraction. You go to click on the TV, right? Maybe you'll grab a drink without intention behind it. It's okay to have the drink, but if you are unintentional about what you're doing, it'll own you versus you owning it. And so watch your patterns of distraction, and it'll lead you to something deeper. And then you go to that moment where you're like, damn, I was a little weird or awkward or whatever it was. And then you go, why does that bother me? And you go, oh, I have this assumption that it should be perfect. What the fuck is that? Because I ain't no human perfect. So let's start to let that energy go. Where'd that come from? Oh, maybe one of my parents or my school system or whatever kind of modeled that. Damn, where else am I projecting that on others? Man, I'm making my kids feel that way or this to that. How is this influencing my life? Fuck, I don't want none of that. And then that little moment became your teacher. And then you don't need a lot. Life will be your book.
Oh, ain't that something? Mm-hmm. Well, hey, I know that you got a night planned, and I don't want to hold you guys up anymore. I know that we could do this for hours. I mean, it'd be really easy to do this, because you're good at it, and I would take in a lot of new stuff that I never heard before. But I think that for all intents and purposes, if there's anything that you would like to do, let people know where to find you. If there's any closing comments you'd like to say, let's go ahead and do that.
Well, thank you, bro. I want to say it's an honor to be here with you.
Thank
I'm
you.
proud of you, man. This is super cool. I've really enjoyed the conversation, the connection, and it's coming back down to Gardnerville, Minden area is always really special for me, and a lot of what makes it special is the people around here. Like, I really, really mean that. I feel like it's so rare to have connections with people that we might not see each other for a while, but when we do, it's like seeing family again. Like, yo, man, like, what's up? And, oh, man, I want to see you win. And I feel you are one of those people. Your podcast is an example of that. And I want to help you share and grow this as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing who else you bring on. So I'm honored to be a part of that. And then if people want to connect with me, I have a website, troyfontana.co. And then my YouTube channel I've been putting a lot of effort into it more recently. Still getting more comfortable in front of the camera. I'm working on my own kinks and getting stuff out there, but it's definitely starting to pick up traction fast. And I'd love for you to grab some of the information. I share all kinds of cool things, little relationship things about life, all different kinds of stuff on there. And then social media, my Instagram is @troy.fontana. We can link up there.
Awesome.
Yeah, bro.
Well, I know you don't have a ton of sipping whiskey experience and nothing really to compare it to. So it's been probably, like you were saying, high school, college, whatever, right? But final take. What do you think of the Brazilian?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back and laugh. There's a moment I was thinking about where I took that little bigger sip, I guess, and man, that thing took my breath away. So that just shows my novice level of drinking. But it was interesting. I enjoyed like having it throughout the conversation, and I like the idea of sipping it, and I think that's the way to go. And I think it was fitting. I appreciate you picking the Resilient bottle, and I think it's perfect for this.
Cool.
So thank you, brother.
Oh, hey, I want to say thank you for coming down here, hanging out. Thank you for coming down. His friends here, and they're going to go out to dinner.
Yes.
So let me know how that goes.
Yeah. Thanks,
Troy.
brother.
Thank you. And hey, you can check us out on all the socials at Bourbon and Ballistics. Try to keep that updated daily. I've been slacking a little bit. I want to apologize. Life's been getting away. I've been trying to put a little more time in the family, but we have got a lot of cool shows lined up. So hopefully over the next few episodes, we'll keep going and keep growing. Until next time, I'm Joel Potter, and we'll see you later. Bourbon Ballistics.
I cross state lines with hillbillies and guns. It's been a hell of a ride and a whole lot of fun. They gave me many names down there in Dixie.